and welcome to All Souls Unitarian Universalist Congregation in New London, Connecticut. I'm Karen Ethier-Waring, All Souls Board President, and leading worship with me this morning is Jim Mello. So very happy to have him this morning. The Nahantic and Mohegan people were the traditional caretakers of the land on which we gather now. We honor and pay respect to their communities and to their ancestors as we begin. Today's the fourth in a series of services entitled Praise the Mutilated World, an invitation to be in a space of awe toward the natural world despite its wounds and challenges. This morning, we will direct our awe toward the wonder of the sky. And isn't it an amazing sky this morning? Yeah, it's always an amazing sky. We welcome you to this space of awe, and as always, we welcome you to All Souls, where all souls are welcome. You're joyfully called to worship. So please rise in spirit and in body as you are able. And we're going to sing Come, Come, wherever you are, whoever you are, wherever too, right? At home, here in Unity Hall. And we're going to sing it 3 times. It's a very short hymn. And, you know, it's a small group, but I see a lot of good, strong singers here. So, first time together, second time in a round, this side will start, and this side will come in, and I'll bring you guys in. So no worries, 3 times, sing it at home, and we're ready. Thanks, Bill. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving, ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come this side. Come, come, whoever you are. Come, come, whoever you are. Wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving, ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come. Come, come, whoever you are. Wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving, ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come. Beautifully done. Lovely. So we've come to the part of our service where we greet each other. And first, I'd like to greet all of our friends and members online. Yeah, I think it's great to say hi and wave. Welcome to you. And welcome to everyone here gathered in person. And welcome to any newcomers. Are there any newcomers here this morning that we would like to raise their hand and say hi? Hi, welcome. Welcome. And now, let's move about the room, greet each other with cheerful voices and elbow bumps as we pass the peace. And online, please pass the peace in your comments. All right, thank you. into effect. Both the joyful voices and the silence are so beautiful. So Jim Mello will light our chalice as we speak the words projected on the screen, taken from the poem To Praise the Mutilated World. Remember June's long days and wild strawberries, drops of wine, the dew. Return in thought to the concert where music flared. Praise the mutilated world, and the gray feather a bird lost, and the gentle light that strays and vanishes and returns. We must praise the mutilated world. And Jim will light a candle of gratitude this morning for the Inflation Reduction Act, which doesn't sound, well, no, actually it sounds pretty good, right? But the reason I really wanted to light this candle this morning is that despite it being a very complex legislation, it's the largest effort yet by the U.S. to address climate change. Yeah. And for that, we are grateful. This morning's reading is a little poem that packs a punch by one of our favorites, Mary Oliver. Everything that was broken has forgotten its brokenness. I live now in a sky house, through every window the sun and your presence are touching our stories, earthy and holy both. How can this be? But it is. Every day has something in it whose name is forever. And so ends the reading. And with that, I invite Jim Mello to offer his reflection on the theme of sky.
Thank you, Reverend Carolyn, All Souls Board, and committees responsible for volunteerism, and you, the congregation, for asking me to participate in today's service. Reflection, meditation, and figuring out the meaning of life are not always my strongest skills. I struggle with figuring out what I want to do when I grow up. I sometimes have trouble seeing the positive in all things, and the idea of offering guidance on things like that are outside of my expertise, like this, initially causes that sinking feeling in my stomach. I know of and sometimes can hold the principle, embrace the mutilated world, but I don't always hold it in my heart. Sometimes I need a reminder. I have found, though, those reminders can be the best part. Today, we are reflecting on Praise the Mutilated World, Sky. Our reflection is centered upon the poem by Adam Zagajewski, and was condensed into our chalice lighting words. However, our chalice lighting words were missing a line that struck me. You watched the stylish yachts and ships. One of them had a long trip ahead of it, while others salty oblivion awaited. I was a merchant mariner. I have 2 degrees in marine engineering and transportation, which means I used to be able to fix and drive ships of all types and sizes. I have sailed the seas on many a long trip. I have towed ships in preparation for them to be sunk into their salty oblivion. I was hearkened back to a time when I was sailing from Singapore to Hawaii, and we were in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. We were so far out, I don't think we had seen any ships for days, and there was surely 0 light pollution. Anyway, it was late at night, and sometimes I like to go out on deck and just listen to the water slip by the ship and feel the engines push us through the water, and also look up at the stars. I have always known that Earth and our sun Sol are part of the Milky Way galaxy. But this time when I looked up, I saw a sight that I could not have imagined. The Milky Way was stretched across the sky right in front of me with detail and brightness that I had never experienced before. I probably will never see it again in the same way. I felt that we were really part of the Milky Way, in the midst of it, not just a small solar system on the fringe. I felt small and yet connected to something far larger than I could have even fathomed. That was one of the times in my life when something I was taught as facts jumped out right into me as a feeling. As a 23-year-old young man trying to make his way in the world, I would not say that I was moved to tears. But if the wisdom of this 45-year-old man could whisper into that kid's ear, I would have told him to enjoy a special moment like that a little longer. In preparation for becoming a third mate, I had to learn how to navigate ocean-going vessels by the sun and stars. So I had this idea that I would teach you all the basics of celestial navigation in 5 easy conceptual steps. My lesson started like this. First, imagine a 100-foot tall flagpole. I know that if you have to look straight up at 90 degrees, well, you're directly at the base of that flagpole under it, right? Secondly, now walk away from that flagpole some distance and look to the top again. If you are looking up at 60 degrees, geometry for a right triangle says the adjacent side, how far you just walked, equals the opposite side, height of the flagpole, divided by the tangent function of that 60 degrees. I can see by the look on your faces I made the correct decision to ditch that plan. The lesson culminates nonetheless in, and that is how the sky can tell you where you are. People often look to the skies with many questions. Those questions can be complicated, like what is my location in latitude and longitude from our little lesson. Theologically, like where and what is heaven, or the questions can be simple, like what will the weather be? Earlier this week, I was on the phone with Karen, pacing outside my office as I often do while on the phone, trying to figure out what I was going to say right now. While we were talking, I looked up at the sky and I witnessed Zeus being born. A simple cumulus cloud with a little extra moisture got the ambition to reach for the heavens. Its top rapidly passed 20,000 feet. I could see more white cloud tops erupting skyward. Then as it passed 30,000 feet and perhaps even 40,000 feet, thunder and lightning were spewing from this monstrosity, all while I was standing under sunny skies at a safe distance. But in my mind's eye, I could see the wind, water, lightning flashes, thunderclaps that people would be experiencing under that cloud. I couldn't help but think I understood why this raw display of incredible power made our ancestors declare the God of the sky wielding a lightning bolt as the King of gods. And one last quick story, as Perry mentioned that I would be remiss in not mentioning at least one of my skydiving adventures. I had just earned my skydiving license, having just 22 jumps under my belt, when one of the old souls of the drop zone approached me. He offered to do a practice formation skydive with me so that I could participate in formations, much like you saw in the slide when we were passing the piece. We hopped out of that plane at about 13,000 feet, and we got off to a great start. We were going through the motions, grabbing the handles on each other's jumpsuits meant for these things. Then, I grabbed the handle that is meant to release his parachute on his side. As I went around to the front of him, with a look of sheer terror on my face, I quickly saw his look of concern, replaced with what I can only think of as resignation before he was ripped from my view at over 100 miles per hour. When my shock wore off after about 10 seconds, he was already 2,000 feet above me. I continued my skydive alone. I think the only thing falling faster than me at that time was my spirit and my hope that anyone would ever want to skydive with me again. Once I landed back at the drop zone, I waited and waited. A parachute ride from 11,000 feet takes a lot longer than the normal ride from 3,000 feet. When my friend finally landed, we had a quick discussion. He let me know that it is okay to make mistakes, and sometimes we fail. I learned a lot that day, a little bit about skydiving, and a lot about the importance of making mistakes and of supporting those in our community as we grow. Despite my hesitation to take on this task of presenting my reflection for the congregation, I am glad that I agreed. It has been quite a journey, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as I have. Thank you.
Oh, my goodness. That's lovely. Thank you, Jim. Didn't he do a great job? Yeah. It was very strange hearing really pretty loud thunder with the sun out as we were chatting. That was amazing. So, Jesse. This is Lucy. Her nickname is Crazy Lucy for the frenetic way she greets friends and strangers. If you've met her, you know. Nick Avento likes to meditate over her a bit. It doesn't usually change things, but I love him for it. But every once in a while, on a starry night or a beautiful sunny day like this was, she'll sit quietly and just contemplate the sky. It's amazing. And she reminds me to look up and take in the impossible expanse of blue. You know those moments. You pause, look up, and breathe. Yeah. There's a Buddhist practice called mind like sky, which invites us to expand our awareness ever wider, clearer, allowing whatever comes through to move and to pass without disturbing the blue equanimity. In my own mind's eye, I can call up an infinity of blue as I sit on a beach on a sunny summer day. Or the evening that Venus shone so bright, it woke me out of a sound sleep. We were vacationing on a Cape Cod beach cottage, and the shades were open to greet the sunrise, but instead I was awakened by Venus's sultry light. I went onto the deck, and the indigo black of the sky, the stars and planets seemed as though they were just out of my reach. More than that, I felt sure they were somehow intelligent beings. Surely they were communicating something vital and eternal. One of the ways that I understand the world and connect with my own wise mind is through music. And there's a song that's been running through my head the whole time that I've been trying to prepare for this service. On a clear day, rise and look around you, and you'll see who you are. Anyone who's lain on a summer lawn and looked up to the sky knows that feeling of being so minuscule under the eternity of sky. Jim named it too. But rather than feel diminished, we relax into place, relieved of the notions of human superiority and control. You'll feel part of every mountain, sea, and shore. And I am in awe of how every piece of this world fits perfectly with every other piece. We are only one part of the sacred design, but we haven't trusted this intelligent system. The more we create authentic relationships with each other and the world, the easier it will be to get off the hamster wheel of consumption and speed, inspired by the lie that we need to be slimmer, younger, richer. Habits of mind that separate us from each other, that separate us from the earth and sky. At least in our minds, right? And then in our actions. You can hear from far and near a word you've never heard before. Letting go of the illusion of control, we remember that transformation happens in non-linear ways. As we live more humbly, we are freer to honor the natural order of nature and to trust our small contributions. This is the lesson of a theory called emergent strategy, the way very small pieces come together to transform and create larger systems. In the essay Loving a Vanishing World, Emily Johnston tells of her failed action in response to an Arctic drilling project. She and her fellow activists tried to stop a drilling ship from making its way north. They only succeeded in stopping its progress for 1 hour. A sibling group were somewhat more successful, stopping another piece of the drilling machinery for 4 hours. Oh well, it was something, right? And yet, that fuel company ended up canceling the project. The two actions had gotten so much attention, the company decided it wasn't worth the negative attention. And how many of us have let our lawns grow long or longer, enough to let the pollinators feed, or maybe even grown into full-blown meadows? Who of us have been inspired by our All Souls friends and colleagues, by the gardeners and poets and builders and activists among us, letter writers, just this last week, right? To make our own expression of beauty, preservation, or activism. That's emergence, my friends. Mind like sky. And on a clear day, you can see forever and evermore. So, I'm going to invite you now to slow your breath and settle into your own blue sky mind as Bill plays the rest of the song.
Thank you, Bill. That was wonderful. We invite you into a spirit of generosity as we receive the offering for the good work of all souls. Please speak with me the words in our order of worship or projected up on the screen. We give to the work of all souls. Our work weaves the fabric of love called community. To this end, we dedicate ourselves and this our offering.
For all that you have given and all the ways that you contribute to the workings of all souls. Thank you. Each week we pause to pay attention to the joys and sorrows that we experienced in the week just past. We share these through our book in the church lobby, through email at belovedcommunity@allsouls.net, and on the YouTube chat. Betsy Fox will help us this morning by greeting those who would like to light candles of intention. And for those who are in the online pews, you're invited to type in your own joys, concerns, and intentions. And I'll ask that others just refrain from commenting so that we can read those in a little bit. There is a delay. Here in Unity Hall, I invite you to come forward to light a candle of intention if you'd wish. Pausing a moment for online comments. People are very grateful for Bill's music this morning and for Jim's reflection. It's lovely. Let us prepare our hearts and minds as we hold all of the joys and concerns and changes among our community and in the world. I'm sorry to have to announce that we lost Bob Covey this past week, for those of you who may not be aware of that. Yeah. I believe the memorial service is in the planning stages, but we're holding Raja and their family in our hearts this week. And all is quiet. I have nothing from the book to share. Oh, thank you, Kyle. I may have missed it. So Kyle shares that a good friend took her own life. She had been an advocate for mental health over 30 years. So we hold her and you in our hearts, Kyle. Oh, so sorry. Raja said, oh, I'm glad we waited. Raja says, I sat with Bob Covey by my spiritual side listening to Bill Groth play. That was one of Bob's favorite things to do. Raja, we're with you. So, Spirit of life, in all the ways that you are known and experienced, hold us and may we hold each other in these beautiful summer days and all the joy that can come with these times. And yet we know that life continues and there are losses and illnesses often that we don't know that others are carrying. Which is why we pause here to hold and remember in a spirit of unity and celebration for life. I'm going to close this morning's worship with a gorgeous hymn, For the Earth Forever Turning. It's in your gray hymnals, and the words will be displayed on the screen. Please rise in spirit and in body as you are able. Join your voices. Sing we a joyful song of peace. of earth. Jim will extinguish our chalice as we speak the words, our chalice extinguishing words. It's always hard to know what to say. The service has ended, but our work is not yet done. May our spirits be renewed and our purpose resolved as we meet the challenges of the week. The chalice flame is extinguished until once again ignited by the strength of our communion. And I invite you to raise your arms as we mark our closing. We've had a beautiful worship time this morning, and I'm sending you forth, but not quite yet. I hope that you'll stay to be part of the conversation about our building future. And in the meantime, go with joyful hearts and minds like sky. May it be so. Please enjoy Bill's postlude. Oh my goodness. Bill, you bring the joy. Thank you. Okay, so your input is needed, my friends, on building project priorities. So we're going to be meeting, and the meeting will be live streamed. We're going to take a breath, and we're going to begin the conversation promptly at 11. There will be also one more opportunity. Always your input is welcome, right? But for the formal conversations, there's one more opportunity this Tuesday at noon here at All Souls. That's August 16th, Tuesday at noon. But please stay if you're here and contribute to that conversation. Next week's service is a continuation of our Praise the Mutilated World series. Sue Frankowitz and Chris Cluette will lead in Praise of Storms. That's going to be amazing. Next week's Good Neighbor offering is to the Reproductive Equity Access and Choice Fund, REACH. REACH works directly with Connecticut abortion clinics to financially assist those who cannot afford out-of-pocket costs. The pantry donation is pasta, so bring some pasta. Pride is August 27th. All Souls will be tabling, and we need people to sign up in 2-hour shifts. The sign-up sheet will be on the chancel. Please consider covering a shift. So let's take a break, take a stretch, maybe a coffee, and we'll be starting promptly at 11. Thank you. up, friends.
You can move chairs. We'll move them back.
So, as you've probably heard, we have a building project that is pending, and we need to talk about it. So, I prepared a couple of slides just to catch us up, and then we will discuss your thoughts on building priorities. All right. Okay, Jesse, next slide, thanks. So I just want to start with thanking the people who have served on our building committee. Oh my God, they have done so much hard work over the years. And they are still making themselves available, not necessarily as a formal building committee, but right now anyway, but folks from that committee have made themselves available to me and to others on the board and Carolyn as we think about what are we thinking about going forward. So just want to honor them and hold them up. So the process began, I believe it was in 2015, with visions of a very significant building project, and we had a very successful capital campaign. The project was interrupted for a number of reasons. One being rising costs. You know, we got an estimate and costs kind of skyrocketed and they continue to skyrocket. We looked into mortgage and that really did not come together, and I think the banks and the congregation agreed that that wasn't the way we wanted to go. And then COVID and ongoing inflation. So all of that. Last September, we met like this, and we agreed to put things on hold to see how our congregational life has evolved post-COVID crisis. I guess now we're in the long road of COVID, but we wanted to see how are things going to be different. And when Jesse's ready, I'm going to go on to the next slide. Thank you. All right. So we've had a lot of accomplishments. The mortgage is paid off, the previous mortgage. The entire building has been painted, and Unity Hall has a new rug and drapes. The kitchen has been remodeled with new appliances, counters, and cupboards. Funds from the capital campaign were invested in a safe and socially responsible, low-risk capital for change. Our services are now hybrid, thanks to, especially to our tech team and Jesse, led by Jesse, so that we have opportunities for in-person worship as well as remote worship. And our faith formation classes have done, and Perry and his team, all the teachers and Arlene have done amazing work with using the spaces that we have outdoors as well as indoors to keep everybody healthy and well. Next slide, please. So that's a lot, right? Like, yay us. Yay us. We've been talking among the board about, well, what's changed since we started all of this? And one of the things that's changed is the change in traffic patterns. One of our worries had been there was a lot of congestion in the hallways, but that was especially between services. Going to one service and using this doorway for an exit has really decreased the congestion. Faith formation and coffee hours are being held outdoors whenever possible. COVID has increased the concern by many congregants and definitely the board and START team on how to make sure that we keep our space safe so that we can gather in person, so our airspace safe. And the kitchen has been updated and is serving well with some additional needs to be addressed. Next slide, please. All right. So here are some of our current priorities and ideas, just to get your wheels turning. We're thinking about improved use of outdoor space, possibly awnings and expanded green space. We are thinking about our parking lot, which is sorely in need of repair and better drainage. So that could mean a complete replacement, or at least filling cracks and seal. We're concerned and thinking about air purification and ventilation. We're also thinking about how can we better use the space within the footprint of this building, because digging is very expensive and kind of a mystery tour, because you don't know what's going to be under, the pavement as we expand, if we did. So the space concerns that we've had and probably still have is community room, classrooms, and storage. All right, and Jesse, if you would just, next slide. So some awning ideas. And the next, thank you, Katrina, for doing a lot of work. And the next, and the next. So awnings can be pretty substantial. And then one more slide, Jesse. Just want to talk quickly about air quality and ventilation. The START team and past building committee members have been providing feedback about the HVAC system and possibly some other things that we could do, again, to keep our airspace safe in Unity Hall and in our classrooms. We reached out to an engineering firm to talk a little bit about how could we check to see what we need, right? Because that's a big issue. In addition to air circulation, we're learning about germicidal ultraviolet light, which is very effective and has been used for a long time and is getting improved and updated, I think, with COVID, as another way of cleaning the air. So Jesse, I'd like to go back a few slides to I think I want to go back slides. Nope, sorry. I want the one that says, we need your input, if you can find that. But I'll just tell you. So now we're going to open the floor. What we need from you is your thoughts and ideas about what we need for our building space. That's it. Try to refrain as much as possible from the how of it, because that can get really long. And if you're interested in that, we are going to be reconvening a building committee. So there's opportunity for all the house. But right now, we'd like to talk about the what. What do you think we need? And I'm going to ask you to state your questions from the floor, and I will restate them, and Kyle will let me know when there are comments in the YouTube. Sue. So you say it, and I'll repeat it.
First of all, because of our growing awareness of where we are in the life cycle of the Earth, I really feel like whatever we do ought to be with thoughts about the environmental impact and how to reduce our environmental impact and how to mediate what is here. Not knowing what the sea rise will mean to New London, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay. All right.
So one thought that I had, knowing that this parking lot really needs to be redone, is to, when we do that work, to do what cities now in the Southwest are doing, which is using a special colorant over the blacktop that reflects the heat. And it's just it's a gray film that goes on all their roads, so it must be pretty durable if you're putting it on highways and roads that are used
Okay. Yeah. All right. Thank you, Sue. So Sue is expressing the concern that whatever we do, that we keep the well-being of the earth and climate change in mind. And she said, especially with the parking lot, that there are materials that people are using that would reflect the light and the heat. And definitely thinking about green spaces. Thank you, Sue. Jim.
So I think, input, I don't know if this is a question. So the first thing is I think we all know that the parking lot is in dire straits. For me, that's a high priority to fix because the leaves and then the coming winter will only make it probably irreparable if we continue. So attention to the parking lot first. And then the only fear I have with adding more green space is our congregation's ability to maintain that.
Thank you. So, uh-oh. I'm going to ask somebody to pass the mic because I think it's not going to work well. But we could maybe pass it from each person. So Jim, his first comment was that the parking lot is in need of repair. And I lost part of it.
Prioritize getting that evaluated to see if we can save it prior to having to pay for it. And that should be
Okay.
urgent.
Right. So to evaluate that. I'm sorry. I really did lose the rest of your comments, but
For anyone else who wants to speak, please come up and make a line, and you can speak into the microphone.
thanks. And then people online can hear. I'm sorry. Yes. Multitasking. Hopefully my brain isn't going too quickly.
Okay, and then my second question was not really a question, but as we think about adding green space, it is.
Thank you.
Can you hear me, Jesse?
Pick up the mic. Take the mic off the stand.
Testing. And my second concern is if we add significant green space, that we have to keep in mind our congregation's ability to maintain it.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. And he's referring to our garden committee that is overtaxed and needs more help. So come on up.
You mentioned the kitchen has been updated, but there are some additional needs. What are those?
Storage, I believe, and there may be others here who can give more input on that. Storage on the left side, Katrina is saying. Yeah, so storage in the kitchen.
Bob Bunting asked in the chat if you wanted to share any of the input that was shared at the previous meeting, or not.
So yes, we'd love to hear about his idea of the building, and we very much know that gardening help needs to be something that we keep in our minds if we talk about green space. Come on up.
I have two thoughts. One is about religious education classroom space. I'm sorry. Is that better? Okay. My first thought is about RE classroom space and what the needs are. Because my sense is that, and I'm not attached to the program these days, though I have been, I'm not sure what the growth projection is, and if it's really about more classroom space or finding another way to use the space we have. So that's something I've been concerned about for a long time with the building project. And then the second thing, I know in the most recent plan that I'm aware of, there were thoughts about building up, and that would address the digging down need. So I would suggest looking into that. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. This question is from Maria Barais. How do we add green space with our current footprint?
So some of what when we talk about changing the parking lot, the space is not laid out well, and there's lots of ideas, but certainly one idea is putting, adding more green space adjacent to the Peace Garden, and that might be a space where we have a large awning as well. So that's one thought. And others may have other ideas. I feel like I've heard some ideas. So, Sally, yeah. I think there's also some thoughts about trees that won't ruin the pavement.
This morning when we were walking in, I looked at the entrance area, which is paved right up to the door. And I feel that all that paved area that surrounds our whole building, if we, especially in the front, if we could put something that's more attractive, more natural, more welcoming, I think that's a way of creating more green space and making our space. And I think an awning over that area would be beautiful. That white one that I saw, I thought, gee, that would go kind of with our style here. And I see that space as a teacher of the older kids, in all but bitter winter, that would be a wonderful gathering, another classroom in a sense, after everybody's in the building. And if we put some benches around so that people could sit, it would give us another gathering space. And then the other, I'm not an engineer, but the space that the oldest group uses, I don't know, what are those rooms called? There are 3 little rooms, and, you know, there's a...
Emerson, I'm bad with the names.
Emerson. Is that Emerson? All right, so it's all broken up inside, and the spaces are really not large enough for anything. And I don't know if some of the walls could be removed in that area and reconfigured to make the space more usable. So
Great.
Those are my ideas.
Good, thank you for that input, Henrietta. Yeah. And I think this is probably a good time for me, I'm just going to mention Bob Bunting had brought up in our meeting, is it Monday night? Online, the idea of maybe going out just a little bit from the entrance back towards the kitchen and creating a courtyard, an enclosed courtyard, which is similar, although it wouldn't be visible from the street, but that sounds like also a lovely idea. So something creative like that and lovely.
Here in Unity Hall, I think it would be worth considering having an electrician come in to add outlets in additional spots around the hall. Right now we have an outlet here, we have an outlet back at my station, but for various things it would be useful to have some additional outlets, and potentially as part of that running some sound cable as well through the walls in order to clean up the look and make it more efficient for the work that I do here.
Okay, great, thank you, Jesse. So Jesse said they're talking about having some electrical work done so that there are more outlets and so that the sound cables aren't sort of running along the floor. Very practical, important stuff.
I've heard a lot of good ideas. I wonder, I don't know, but it seems like we might be nibbling away at our, I've forgotten how much money there is there, but if we nibble away, project here, project there, what happens to our big fund for expansion of the facility?
So I'm going to show a slide that shows the what we have. And I think we're actually not nibbling away, but using the funds in a different way. So if you, so we have $241,000 cash on hand with $400,000 invested in capital for change, which will come, well, which we will have access to in February. So that is like help me. Like a CD, thank you. So we will have access to that money. So that's in total $641,000. We are also in the 4th year of our capital campaign, and there's another $200,000 in outstanding pledges. We probably will not get all of that. I think some members have passed away. So we may not get all of that, but we're hoping for around $800,000. Does that help? Does that answer your question? So that is a concern. That's why we're talking about it. It's not, what we learned earlier in this project is that what we were able to raise wasn't going to bring us to that big building project that we were talking about. And that is a loss. Oh, an online, okay. Okay. Mhm. I see. So Karen Jones says she's thinking about safety, and the windows in Unity Hall are vulnerable to a rogue vehicle. Okay, thanks. Practical, important thought. Thanks, Karen.
I thought, I thought that some of these projects were to maybe even eliminate the need for expansion or reduce the need for expansion so that we won't need the amount of money that we were originally thinking. I don't know.
Or so that we won't need to do that major building project.
Yeah.
Correct.
Right. And some of the things were going to be done anyway. The kitchen, this, I'm
Right.
not sure what,
Right.
everything.
Mm-hmm.
We're asking the congregation permission.
Please use the microphone so people can hear you.
Essentially, we're asking the congregation's permission to use the capital campaigns fund to do a project that is smaller in scope than originally envisioned conceptually. So I believe we are looking to complete these small projects, and when we are complete, that is what the capital campaign would have satisfied. Is that?
Yes,
Thank you.
yes.
And just to piggyback on Jim, for instance, this parking lot isn't an efficient setup at all. And so, setting it up in such a way that we maximize the spots and knowing that many people choose not to be here on Sunday morning for worship, that they can have worship wherever they are with us. We probably won't need as much parking as we've used before, but we've never actually overflowed the parking lot that I know of, except for a funeral I was at, and which would allow us to use more of, for instance, over here, to turn that into green space, hopefully. So I really like what kind of thinking that we're doing now, to think in new and different ways of how to use what we already have and how to maximize what we have, which is a good way to think about all the way we live today,
Right.
given what we've done to the earth, and the only earth we have. I still believe there is no planet B, right?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Thanks, Sue. So I'm noticing comments. Eleanor McClelland just notices that she's on the garden committee. Oops, just went away. Just saying that we would need to budget for help maintaining green space as we think about expanding green space. That relying on our volunteers might not be, we might not be able to maintain that. Eileen Ego says a community room is still needed and will likely require expansion in some manner. Bob Bunting adds that Perry had talked about reconfiguring some of the inside space. So I don't know whose comment it was about these rooms, so the calming room and the rooms sort of back behind the kitchen, that we could possibly recoup that space, taking down walls so that there's a larger space there. So that's one thought. Bob Bunting adds, and possibly adding a second story. We also talked about redoing the storage off of Unity Hall, this area. Thank you so much for your input. Other thoughts? Other concerns?
Would reconfiguring those little rooms be large enough for a community room?
So we think perhaps yes, especially if there was a wall that was a collapsible wall. But again, we're gathering ideas today. We really want the ideas. But yes, there really is a lot of space there that isn't used very efficiently when we need a larger gathering space. Other thoughts? How are we doing?
I really, thanks for having this. I think it's really good for us to talk. I've always been somebody who thinks we sometimes look at what we can do right now, and we don't know what the future is going to bring for us. Who knows, as we open our doors on Sunday mornings to members that live far away and people that are looking for this voice that we offer here as a liberal religion. I want us to really think about a community room. I know it would certainly, for Friday Night Folk, it would really help us expand, but I'm also very mindful of children and youth that are going to be coming in, and we want to make sure we have space for them. Office space. We can do this economically, but I don't think I think this next couple of years is going to give us an idea how people are going to come back. Sunday mornings is going to be a different place than it was pre-COVID. And what will that look like? Will people be generous that are at home or far away? So I just don't want us to be too small-minded, to think that this is all the money we have. It could be more, or it could be less. And I really thank the board and all the people here at All Souls to let us speak.
Thanks, Nick. Other thoughts? Okay, we're a good team. Thank you for bringing your thoughts. Again, we are going to gather on Tuesday at noon here at All Souls to have another conversation. The conversation's not over. We are going to need to reconvene a building committee, and if you are feeling passionate about this, please let us know that you might be available to help. And even if you're not part of the building committee, we certainly are going to continue our conversations. All right, have a great week, everyone. Thank you for staying.